Jacinda Kate Laurel Ardern, the 40th and current Prime Minister of New Zealand, is synonymous with what leadership should be. Why do I say that? Well, let me break it down. The first thing is, she is not driven by convention. One of the things that she initially dealt with was her perceived lack of experience. Opponents thought that because of her age, she wouldn't be able to handle being a leader. But that's not what happened. 2 months after Jacinda Ardern became the youngest ever leader of New Zealand's Labour Party, she became the country's youngest Prime Minister in 150 years. And its youngest female Prime Minister ever. The whole thing was known as Jacinda Mania. That was supposed to be more menacing, but you get the point. She was compared to other political rock stars such as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and former President Barack Obama. Another example of her not being driven by convention is how she became the first leader of a country in nearly 30 years to give birth while in office. This sparked dialogue about whether prospective female employees should inform employers about plans to have children. Some were more forceful than others, and shall we say, sexist? Yeah, sexist, that works. Anyways, here's her response to a reporter that was being persistent about this question after apparently not being satisfied with her first answer.
It is totally unacceptable in 2017 to say that women should have to answer that question.
Yep, and she followed up with that by saying, I decided to talk about it. It was my choice. But for other women, it is totally unacceptable in 2017 to say that women should have to answer that question in the workplace. It is the woman's decision about when they choose to have children. It should not predetermine whether or not they are given a job or have job opportunities. Being a leader often means you defy convention. It requires bravery to go against the status quo and stand firm in your beliefs. You'll almost certainly face opposition, but don't lose yourself in the process of trying to become more appealing. Number 2, she's a champion for inclusion and values. In one of the most heinous terrorist attacks in recent times, a white supremacist orchestrated a series of attacks that took the lives of 50 people and injured 50 others in Christchurch, New Zealand. It was a low for us as a world, and it highlighted how dangerous ideologies can lead to divisiveness and hate. It was also the moment Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern ascended from New Zealand's Prime Minister to global leader. First of all, she called the Christchurch anti-immigrant attack what it was. A terrorist attack. Believe it or not many leaders are willing to call terrorists terrorists. Second of all, she chose that moment to remind the world and New Zealand that it was a time to unite and not be divisive. Her rallying cry for New Zealand and the world was, "They are us," referring to the victims.
They now form part of our collective memories. They will remain with us forever. They are us.
She reminded us of the power we have when we come together. While addressing the country, she said,
Our challenge now is to make the very best of us a daily reality. Because we are not immune to the viruses of hate, of fear, of other. We never have been. But we can be the nation that discovers the cure. And so to each of us, as we go from here, we have work to do. But do not leave the job of combating hate to the government alone. We each hold the power, in our words, and in our actions, in our daily acts of kindness. Let that be the legacy of the 15th of March, to be the nation we believe ourselves to be.
Wow. In a moment that was incredibly difficult and still is for many families today, she stood in solidarity. Another gesture of her championing inclusion was when she chose to wear a headscarf while visiting families of those affected by the attacks. She didn't have to, but she did so as a sign of respect. She continued this trend as she addressed her parliament in the Arabic greeting, Assalamu alaikum. Last but not least, take a look at this video and see as she addresses the crowd in Hagley Park. You notice that she wears a Maori cloak, opens up in Maori, continues in English while having an interpreter sign the message in New Zealand Sign Language. English, Maori, and New Zealand Sign Language, the 3 official languages of New Zealand. no one was left alone.
Mai taku whānui, tēnā koutou. E papaki tu ana nā tai o maumaha ki runga o autu tahi. But with that memory comes a responsibility. A responsibility to be the place that we wish to be. A place that is diverse, that is welcoming, that is kind and compassionate. Those values represent the very best of us. But even the ugliest of viruses can exist in places they are not welcome. Racism exists, but it is not welcome here. An assault on the freedom of any one of us who practices their faith or religion is not welcome here. Violence and extremism in all its forms is not welcome here.
Some of you might not think that this level of cultural sensitivity matters, but they do. They show that you are more than words. They humanize people and let people feel seen, heard, and understood. They prevent an ethnocentric way of looking at things or evaluating other people and cultures according to standards of one's own culture. You can tell a lot about people based on how they respond to situations. Some people shrink away, and some people step up. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern stepped up and reminded us that each of us can do so too. She reminded us of our humanity and the importance of living our values.
To the global community who have joined us today, who reached out to embrace New Zealand and our Muslim community, to all of those who have gathered here with us, we say thank you. And we also ask that the condemnation of violence and terrorism turns now to a collective response. The world has been stuck in a vicious cycle of extremism breeding extremism, and it must end. We cannot confront these issues alone. None of us can. The answer to them lies in a simple concept that is not bound by domestic borders, that isn't based on ethnicity, power base, or even forms of governance. The answer lies in our humanity.
A true leader is not driven by convention and is a champion for inclusion and values. Till next time, use your difference to make a difference.